right, in this video, we're going to focus on holes, asymptotes, x-intercepts, and y-intercepts. So this one goes a little bit more in depth. So I'm going to be looking at problems 5 through I think 9, and it's on pages 18, 19, and 20 of your packet. So you'll notice that in number 5, they were actually pretty generous, and they gave us the problem in factored form instead of, you know, standard form where everything's multiplied out. All right, so that does save us a little bit of time. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel what can cancel. All right, and that leaves me with x minus 5. All right, so hopefully you can look at that and start making some predictions about the graph, because that's linear, right? So I am expecting something that's going to look a little more linear, but I do need to identify my holes and my asymptotes and all that good stuff as well. So for my holes, I'm going to set the canceled out portion equal to 0 and solve for x. So I have two canceled out portions. I have x minus 9 equals 0, and I have x plus 1 equals 0. So I would have a hole at positive 9 and a hole at negative 1. Now, that's not my hole. 9, negative 1 is not my hole. These are two separate holes, okay? So to get the y value, I have to substitute into my original function, or my hole, okay, or my simplified function. It's easier to do the simplified. So y is going to be 9 minus 5, which is 4. So that means I'm going to have a hole at 9, 4. All right. For the second one, I'm going to substitute negative 1 in for x. So I would have negative 1 minus 5 equals negative 6. So that hole would be at negative 1, negative 6. So we have two holes. We have 9, 4 right here. And we have negative 1, negative 6 right here. All right, so now I need to look at vertical asymptotes. All right, so for vertical asymptotes, it says set the denominator equal to 0 and solve for x. So there is no vertical asymptote because there is no denominator. So there's no vertical asymptote because there's no denominator. All right, now we're going to look at horizontal asymptotes. All right, well, for horizontal asymptotes, it says we need to look to see if it's top heavy, bottom heavy, or equally heavy. All right, so it is top heavy, and if it's top heavy, it tells us that there is no horizontal asymptote. So again, there's no horizontal asymptote because it's top heavy. All right, now we need to look at the x-intercept and the y-intercept. All right, so if we're finding the x-intercept, it says to set the numerator equal to 0 and solve for x. So the x-intercept, we set the numerator, which would be x minus 5, equal to 0 and solve for x. So we get 5, so that means my x-intercept is at 5, 0. So at 5, 0, I can plot a point. For the y-intercept, it says to substitute a 0 in for x and then solve for y. So if I substitute a 0 in, then I would say 0 minus 5 is negative 5. So y is equal to negative 5. So that would be 0, negative 5. That's my y-intercept. So that would be right here. Now I have enough points. So I can see, then we already knew it was going to be linear anyways, but this is what my graph will look like. It's just, it's a little different than the ones before because we have two separate holes. All right, and so we're not doing domain and range in this video. All right, so that's number 5 on page 18.